All right, guys, we're going to rock and roll here on the I Love CVille show. Talk some UVA today. Tough way to end the football season, right? We'll talk some updates on Virginia football and the Fenway Bowl that got canceled for the University of Virginia due to COVID. That game is going to be played Wednesday of this week against SMU. And folks, the bowl games are dropping like flies. The bowl games are dropping like flies. A lot to cover on today's program. We're going to have a good time. Give the show a like and a share anywhere you're watching. And we'll have a good time today on the I Love CVille network. Markets are green across the board. The Dow Jones, the S&P 500, the NASDAQ, the Russell 2K, so green. The Santa Claus rally, it looks like it very much has been coming to fruition before Christmas and in the last Monday of the trading year in 2021. Consumer confidence, certainly from a retail sales standpoint, seems to be pretty strong. We'll cover some of these topics today on the show. Holiday sales jumped 8.5%. MasterCard, the credit card company, said as shoppers shrugged off higher prices. I want to talk about that briefly today on the show. Judah Wickhauer is our director, and we can rock and roll when you're ready, J-Dubs.
Quiet on the set.
Guys, welcome to the I Love CVille show. My name is Jerry Miller. Thank you for joining us on a glorious Monday, the last Monday here in 2021. It's great to be with you. We're live in Charlottesville, across Central Virginia, the Commonwealth, the country, and the world on the I Love CVille network. Our friends at Skooma Boutique Dispensary, Skooma Boutique Dispensary in the Charlottesville Downtown Mall, proud partners of the I Love CVille network. David and his gorgeous wife at Skooma Boutique Dispensary. Certificates of analyses for everything in the store. We'll give some props and love to Scott Wagner of Scott Wagner Integrated Medicine for being a part of this show as well. Dr. Wagner, he has your back. We love that team over at Scott Wagner Integrated Medicine. A lot to cover today. Folks, a sour way to end the Virginia football season with a bowl game cancelization. SMU, the opponent, Wednesday at 11 a.m., the kickoff. That game is no more. I want to talk about Virginia and how it's closed the season. I want to talk about the coaching carousel, who's staying and who's going. It looks like, according to players and parents on Twitter, that Virginia football is going to, in particular Tony Elliott, the newly minted head coach, is going to retain Marcus Biscuit Hagans and Clint Sintum on staff. Biscuit Hagans and Clint Sintum are going to be retained by Tony Elliott, according to tweets from Virginia football players' parents today. I have that story for you. Hagans and Sintum, big-time retainees, and we were hoping, in particular Biscuit, that both would stay. I'm going to give you a statistic that I found disconcerting. Halloween, 1:05 a.m. UVA football, 6-2 overall. I'll give it to you again. On Halloween, at 1:05 a.m., UVA football was 6-2 on the season, and they were ahead 49-45 at BYU. Then Brennan Armstrong suffers the rib injury. Virginia ends up losing that game to BYU. And they closed the season getting outscored 126-65 in 4 straight losses. Bronco Mendenhall resigns. 18 players enter the transfer portal. The UVA bowl game was canceled. And now the coaching carousel begins. I'll run through that statistic for you again here on the I Love CVille show. But you cannot think of a more tale of two halves for this football season. The Hoos look like the best offense in the country in that fourth quarter against BYU. Brennan Armstrong looks like a shortlist candidate for Heisman Trophy. Then they close the year in that fourth quarter with 4 straight losses, a surprising coaching resignation, a bowl game cancellation, and 18 players in the transfer portal. I want to talk about that with you guys on today's program. We'll talk about the retaining of coaches as well. Now, here's the good news. If you're tuning into the show, you're likely hearing this for the first time. Marcus Hagans, fondly known as Biscuit, one of the very good guys in Virginia football's history, a guy who started as a punt returner and a wide receiver, and a guy who finished his career under center as a very talented quarterback, a guy who played multiple seasons in the National Football League, and a guy who returned to Charlottesville with his wife and 2 kids, is now going to see a new coaching regime under Tony Elliott. He's being retained. Clint Sinham, a linebacker extraordinaire, started his career with the New York Giants in the National Football League. He's also being retained. Both parents, many parents, and one current receiver, and Mr. Wicks, tweeted last night that Hagans was staying. This is news you will see in newspapers across the Commonwealth, on ESPN, and on TV stations across the Commonwealth as well. Hagans is being retained. Clint Sinham is being retained. This, according to multiple tweets of parents of current football players. Not sure the parents should be releasing this news themselves as opposed to getting an official statement from Tony Elliott released through the athletic department. But hey, such is the age of social media in 2021 going into 2022. So, the season ended in a sour note. There's no question about it. I'll give you this again. Halloween night at 1:05 a.m. East Coast time. So trick-or-treating hasn't happened yet. Many of us are still sleeping. Us diehard fans, me included, are watching this BYU game at the edge of our bed. In the fourth quarter, Virginia is 6-2 on the season, and they're battling and scrapping with the Cougars of BYU, and they're up 49-45. Then Brennan Armstrong suffers the injury to his ribs that rang throughout Wahoo Nation. UVA ends up losing that BYU game. They end up dropping 4 straight contests. They end up getting outscored 126-65 over those 4 games. A sour note to close the season against Virginia Tech and Scott Stadium with some awful play calling. 3rd and 8, a lateral to an offensive lineman with the game hanging in the balance. 18 players enter the transfer portal. The Fenway Bowl gets canceled. Surprising coaching resignation. The positive and the icing on the cake today around lunchtime, and we got to find the positives as Virginia fans. We know that, especially football fans. Is Hagans is coming back. Clint Sinham is coming back. I really wanted Coach Beck, the quarterback's coach, to stay. Coach Beck has mentored 3 stud gunslingers in Kurt and Bryce and now Brennan. But he's going to Syracuse following Robert Anae, who's going to be the offensive coordinator for the Orange. Now we're on to next season at Virginia as Tony Elliott assembles his staff and tries to keep the players who have entered the transfer portal back on the roster for next season. Look, I'll cut to the chase. Coach Elliott has his work cut out for him. We all know that as fans of the orange and blue. I think he is a proven winner. Now, granted, he was winning at Clemson. Easier place to win Death Valley than Charlottesville. I think he's going to come in and the novelty or the splash of a first-year coach is going to get him some big-time recruits. But going into next season, you're going to have to shore up the defense, and you're going to see if you can duplicate the success of the offense. That's not going to be easy to do. You got a left tackle that is committed to Southern California, USC, already, transferring from UVA to going to USC. And you got a team that limped across the finish line this year. So we'll see what Virginia can do. Now, the cancellation of this bowl game, I don't see how, and I hate to say this, if asymptomatic college athletes continue to get tested at the frequency and clip that the NCAA is demanding, how can we potentially finish the college basketball season? The next 30 days with holiday travel and Christmas and New Year's, we all know a spike in numbers is going to be the reality. Are we trepid and concerned that this ACC basketball and Virginia basketball season could be shortened? Yes. Are we trepid and concerned that college basketball will make an edict come 2022 in January that fans will not be allowed in stadiums and games will have to be played in front of empty arenas again? Yes, I'm concerned about that. We do know the NCAA cannot afford to cancel March Madness again. And if the NCAA continues to require testing of asymptomatic athletes and players, the results are going to be canceled games, fans removed from arenas, and players and coaches heading for bubble play again. I hate to say that, but I'm a realistic man. I was talking to a friend of the program via Facebook Messenger, and I won't identify his name. I'll just use the initials JW, and no, it's not Judah Wickower. It's another gentleman that watches the show and has watched from the beginning. I appreciate you very much, JW, if you're watching now, if you watch later. And he made the point to me that the big money bowl games, those likely won't get canceled, and I agree with him. He also made the point of having mid-major programs in underachieving schools playing at 11 a.m. kickoffs in baseball stadiums is meaningless and pointless And I agree with him. There are too many bowl games out there. And why we have such an obscene amounts of bowl games is because of money. There's no other reason because of money. Virginia finished 6-6. They lost 4 straight, and they were outscored 126-65 over those 4 games. They were pitiful against Virginia Tech, pitiful against Notre Dame. Do we think we were deserving of a bowl game? Come on. Right? Come on. Let's be realistic. When you have these mediocre, low-tier games, there's no true skin in the game. And when you have a spike in numbers, and you have a coaching staff that's in shambles, and you have a fan base that's not traveling to the bowl games, hell, the fan base didn't sell out Scott Stadium against Virginia Tech. There's no conviction to play the contest. And when there's no skin in the game or conviction to play the contest, you get the cancelization. And that's what we got. Now, a couple more items I need to get off my chest. Virginia is back in action from a basketball standpoint on Saturday. Saturday is New Year's Day. The Who's travel to Syracuse for an 8 o'clock tip. I am a glass is half full kind of guy, a positive optimist. I'm a realist optimist, if that makes sense. I do not see how the ACC regular season, the ACC tournament, and March Madness will not be dramatically impacted by this Omicron variant. Testing asymptomatic players not showing signs of sickness, is going to be the death nail of the college basketball experience we hold so highly and revere. Games are getting canceled left and right and postponed left and right. And we are not in the serious wave of this Omicron pandemic, which is going to be the 3 weeks in January after holiday travel. I would not be surprised if bubble play becomes the reality. No fans in the stadiums or arenas. And isolation for athletes and coaches, just like the NBA did this past year to get its postseason and championship in. We'll see. I hope I'm wrong. I really hope I'm wrong. Now, one other topic I'd like to get off my chest. Markets are super green right now. The Santa Claus rally certainly happened last week before Christmas, and the last Monday of the 2021 trading year, you got green for every index on Market Street. You see what Americans did from a holiday sales standpoint. Holiday spending rose 8.5% in 2021 versus 2020. That means people were willing to navigate supply chain shortages and inflation price upticks by purchasing Christmas gifts earlier than ever. this data extremely positive. I'm curious to see how the 8.5% and national holiday spending increase will impact Americans in the first quarter, in particular January. We know that January is going to be a spike in Omicron numbers because of holiday travel and holiday shindigs. We also now know that Americans spent more money than ever before on holiday shopping. How will that impact spending in January and February when credit card bills come due and consumers are concerned at the same time as numbers spike from Omicron? I am somewhat trepid, concerned, and a bit fearful that we will spend and we will see a little bit of a retraction with the economy in January and February. I think folks are going to be hunkering down in the winter. I think we're going to get slammed with these uptick in numbers. And I think these credit card bills are going to start hitting in January and February, associated with the 8.5% additional spending year over year for Christmas gifts and holiday gifts. Time's going to tell, but the crystal ball is often right here on the I Love CVille Network. The space or the category of business I'm most in particularly concerned about is restaurants. Disposable income and consumer confidence to eat in dining rooms. Remember, it's frigid and cold in the winter and people aren't going to want to eat outside as much. Is going to impact undoubtedly our beloved mom and pop restaurants in our communities. So the takeout piece for supporting these restaurants is more critical and paramount than ever. I've been getting this a lot from a lot of people. Jer, we know you are a vaccine guy, and I am a vaccine guy. Are you noticing that NFL players, NBA athletes, and the National Hockey League have high vaccination rates, yet players are still getting struck with Omicron? Yes, I'm noticing that. I want to emphasize this yet again on this program. Sure, the NFL is 95% vaccinated. Yes, the NBA is 97% vaccinated. And sure, the National Hockey League is almost 100% vaccinated. And yes, all three leagues are still overwhelmed with COVID cases and hitting new COVID highs. Folks, the vaccination prevents hospitals from being overwhelmed by patients and illness associated with Omicron and COVID. That's the reason to get the vaccine. You're not as sick and don't need the hospitalization attention of unvaccinated folks. Emphasize that. We know vaccinated people can pass COVID to others, but you're not going to have collateral health damage to the severity of unvaccinated folks. That's the whole point. I got a lot of those messages over the weekend. Oh man, I was bummed about the bowl game getting canceled. I mean, if you think about Bronco, Coach Mendenhall, just a tough way to end his career in Charlottesville. And I think Coach Mendenhall overall should be applauded for what he's done in Charlottesville. Taken the team from the laughingstock of the ACC to a relevant force. But his last year on the job, losing 4 straight games, 1 to Virginia Tech, having his bowl game canceled, resigning in surprising fashion, and getting outscored 126 to 65. That's sour. That's a sour way to finish. All right, those are the items I had to get off my chest today. I'm grateful for you guys watching and listening to the show. Judah Wickhauer is our fabulous director. We love him quite a bit. My name is Jerry Miller, and this is the I Love CVille show on the last Monday of 2021. We're back tomorrow at 12:30 on this network. You guys have a good afternoon. Take care.